newspaper is totally wrong?
I'm saying that based on the audit and the allegations that were provided to us by the story in the Washington Post, we have conducted an audit, and these are the things that we have uncovered. We have the tests available from Section 115, which shows clearly that these officers, all the officers in 115 did not receive a 100% grade, and this so-called phantom student officer was in the academy from June 9th to June 25th, taking all the tests, and he received the appropriate grade. And we also, although we have redacted the names on the tests, the audit has uncovered that this person was actually physically in the academy participating in the administering of the tests.
Nobody was given answers ahead of time in any case that you've been able to determine?
The way the test was administered, a review was conducted prior to the test, like in any other academic setting, and then the test was given. We do believe that there were some procedural issues with that one instructor, and we have actually taken appropriate action on that instructor.
Elaborate what that instructor was doing that was wrong?
He basically provided some answers prior to the administration of the test.
And the cadets didn't raise their hands and say, this is not right, what you're doing here?
Sir, there was no sinister plot here. There was no giving of questions, answers, saying that, okay, question number 1 is A, question number 2 is B. As you can see by the tests that are available, if this was such a review that was basically planned and orchestrated, I'll be very surprised why everybody was not given 100%. And let me just share with you some characteristics about some of these tests. Some of these tests were actually 2 questions because it covered a specific objective from the training commission. So you either passed or failed. If 100%, which is the answer for 2 questions, and if you failed, you got a 50%. So some of these tests range from 2 questions, 5 questions, 10 questions, to 35 questions. So again, you will see that of the 11 or 10 cases that were in question, we have copies for your review that shows that there was no 100% for the entire class of session 115. 115, the students of 115, no officers did not cheat based on our initial audit. And we're going to continue to audit and look at further, but we have actually, the group has actually done a tremendous job in such a short space of time, and I'm very confident so far that we have done a very due diligent job in identifying any irregularities, which has been none.
Chief, Vince Canales confirmed for me today that there are records, the score sheets for these classes that are 100, 100, 100. And he said the instructor, just sort of went down the list and filled out 100 for each, even though the grades on the test didn't reflect it. Is that your understanding of that?
And that is true, and that's why we are seeing, now let me just, so that we don't get confused here. The instructor actually did a cover sheet, and I think it was due to laziness, that this instructor did not take the time to fill in the appropriate scores for each officer, but that should not be construed that this was a class who was involved in cheating, which is absolutely false. The tests are available for your review, right behind me on the table so that you can see for yourselves. So this is...
Clarify, you're saying that the instructor filled out a sheet saying everybody scored 100%, but that was not in fact the case?
That was not the fact. That was an instructor issue. That was not the class. And that's the reason why we are going to be auditing the entire training session, and those individuals who did not properly follow procedures will be held accountable. Session 115 should not be held accountable or cast or defined as cheaters. I think that is totally wrong.
You're saying all the fault in this report lies with the instructors, that the training instructors somehow did something wrong?
I'm not going to use the term training instructors because, again, I don't want to characterize this as anything other than maybe 1 or 2 individuals that did not follow proper procedures in taking the time to post the proper grades of each individual officer of session 115.
Well, let me also say this, though. the training of officers to meet the Maryland standards go to the heart of constitutional policing. And we want to let you know that we understand that and how seriously we took these allegations. Anytime an officer does not meet the standard, if they're on the streets, they are not police officers, and they subject this county to all kinds of liabilities. And the citizen expect the very best. So these allegations came to us before it was published. And that's why we had the audit to make certain that we find out the right information. What we're saying is that we're not saying that we do not take these things seriously or that there were not some substance to the story at all. What we're saying is that when we look at the specific allegation, we found two things that were really, really important. One, that there were no cheating on the officer's part, that many of the officers did not make 100% on those tests, and we have the tests in the back for you to look at. You know, we think the proof is in the pudding, and those are the tests that were referred to in the article. The second thing is that we do not find that there were not integrity in the academy in terms of the training. What we did find is that we find one officer that the chief characterized as probably being lazy, and instead of taking the time to record the correct scores, for whatever reason, just put 100. The other thing that was very important is that we did not have anybody who, there was an allegation that there was an officer that got 100 and he was not even in the academy. And we looked at that very carefully, and we found that the officer was dismissed, but not yet off the payroll, and therefore was, quote unquote, still in the session and did take exam. And his score was 100, like maybe some of the others think. So when we look at the most critical things, what we're saying is that what we find is that we find a police department and a training session that meet many of the requirements. The other thing that we looked at was that what were the range of grades in relation to these officers and other sessions over the years. Did these people score much better? And we didn't find any variation. And that was important to us. So but I'm not satisfied, and what we're going to do, I've asked Vernon Oran, who's been with us now for 7 years and done an outstanding job, and the chief, who is doing an outstanding job, to conduct a top-to-bottom review. And we want the Maryland Commission to come in also and look and make certain that we are on point in every category. This police department is too important. It's too important to us. It's too important to the community. It's essential to the welfare of our citizens. And we are never, ever, ever going to allow anything that undermines the integrity of this department to happen as long as we are living in this community. And we commit to that, and we are very serious about this. And you know, we take the story not as a criticism, but as an opportunity to improve.
Chief, given that the instructor apparently incorrectly filled out the sheet reporting their scores, is there any indication that any of these officers failed these tests and should not have been certified as officers?
No, ma'am. Two things: no cheating, and we actually found the individual that was actually taking the test that was on our payroll, just like Mr. Johnson characterized, until June 30th.
So everybody passed, they just didn't get the 100% that was reported?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. And you will see the tests are available. You'll see the ranges and the scores back there from, our passing score is 75, and everybody passed with above 75.
How do you Explain the bundling of the tests as well. That seemed to be raised in the article that all of these tests were crammed in at the last minute. How do you explain that?
And what our audit is uncovering so far is that, our academy classes sometimes are detailed or asked to come and do crime scene search on other assignments for us, and it seems that there was a scheduling issue, that there was crunch time, and that they made a decision to administer all these tests on that one day, June 17th. But again, that goes to what Mr. Johnson has ordered, a top-down audit, and we will actually look at lessons learned there and actually make the appropriate adjustments.
The student have taken the test, you yourself, Mr. Johnson, he was dismissed, although still on the table. I mean, just because he's getting paid doesn't mean he's present.
No, let me just clarify that. Yeah,
I probably didn't use the right term.
Right.
You know.
Yeah,
I'm a
Mr.
layperson, so.
Yeah.
Don't take my.
I do the operational, but that was right on point what Mr. Johnson, he was basically dismissed from the academy. However, on June 9th, based on a recommendation from a medical advisory board, the chief of police issued an order notifying this student officer that on June 30th, you'll be officially removed from the active roster of an employee of the Prince George's County Police Department. His last test that he took with us was on June 25th.
I think there's a score sheet that has him taking the test on July 1st.
I don't know about that score sheet. And if that's the case, you're absolutely right. That would be evidence that we may not have in our possession. That's the reason why we may not know about that July 1st issue. But everything that we took custody of on that date that directed, that's evidence for this audit, and it should have been remained the property of the Prince George's County Police Department. We do not have that July 1st, which is very critical, and I'll hope that we'll get that back in our possession.
How big of a problem is it that an instructor is essentially recording grades they didn't get, and can you name that instructor and say what's happened to it?
Right now, I'm not going to say it's not a widespread issue. I will tell you that once the audit is completed and we have identified the nature of the reason why this occurred, we'll take the appropriate action. And I will tell you, since being the chief of police, we have actually had a significant turnover in the training academy. So we are continuously improving and making additional staffing levels in the police academy.
Is he still in there, the police academy?
The officers?
The officer who wrote down the 100?
Right now, yes, they're still in the police academy. And that points to another issue that we hopefully will address during the audit. If this was an intentional issue, if it was a supervision issue, if it was a software issue, we don't know that. We have to look at everything to make sure that we are right on point with this.
Did other people write down hundreds that students didn't get?
Right now, with the audit that we have seen, we have a couple of score sheets that may be involving the same individual.
And man, we're going to do a complete audit from top to bottom.
Brother, the mic, please.
We're going to do a complete audit from top to bottom. If we find any propriety, as the chief has indicated, the appropriate action will be taken. You know, we have it's no advantage to us to push somebody through the academy class. We have recruits that fail to make the minimum standards as set by the Maryland Police Corrections Training Commission all the time, and they're washed out. So as a result of this issue, we're going to look at everything from the first day to the last day. We'll come back here and report the findings to the citizens.